Okay, this is our International CBAP Study Group. Today is March 28th. It is 7 a.m. in the morning Eastern Time, and wonderfully, uh, I, all different times here. Let's make this bigger. So I
Mm-hmm.
put this up here. I don't know that I've got the right cities, but I think I've got all the right countries.
Mm-hmm.
So um, in Eastern Time, it's 8 o'clock. I actually don't live Eastern Time, but I lead the Tampa Bay chapter, so I go off Eastern Time. And
Okay.
then, are you in Geneva in that area?
You should tell, but it's the same time zone. Yep.
Same
Very close.
time zone. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 1 o'clock for you.
Mm-hmm.
So these should work pretty well, I hope.
Yep.
Hey, Jose's here.
I think following Easter there would be a daylight saving change.
There is going to
Uh,
be another one, so I'm going to have to post this several times. But y'all know whenever you change, you just don't know whenever everybody else changes or I change. So
yeah.
theoretically, we're just going to keep track of it.
Okay.
This is a website I use. Let me grab it and pull it over here. It's called World Time Buddy.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, you mentioned this earlier. Correct.
Yeah, this is the one you can put in here. Let's see. Let's see if I want to go Chicago. You gotta spell it properly. It's picky about that. It will just add it to you, and then you can take off the one that you don't want. So
So
that's
the
what time it
next
really is for me.
the next class would be on April 4th. Is that right?
Okay, let's do that. March, April 4th. And so it's going to be 2 o'clock for you guys instead of 1 o'clock. Well,
Mm.
come on, stick. Then I can make it there. That's
Okay.
what time it's going to be for everyone. Let me go ahead and snip that since we've
Mm-hmm.
got it.
Okay. 2 p.m. next week.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because of the time zone change. Okay, so let me grab this here. April 4th class. So there, yes, it's okay. So there's the new time for next week. Okay, wonderful. Y'all ready for some questions?
Mm.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
So what are you thinking, Chadna?
I didn't really get to cover the entire section of planning and monitoring. I'm halfway through, but
Okay,
I think we'll just take the assessment to see if I'm, okay with the first half at least. So
okay, we can do that. Jose, what do you think about planning and monitoring? Chapter 4. I'm sorry, that's chapter 3.
three.
Chapter 3. Yes. Yeah, we can go on with that one.
Okay. Do y'all want to do chapter 4 and chapter 3, or are we needing to focus on chapter 3?
Uh, I don't know.
I'm
Are
okay with
we?
chapter three.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm okay
let's
with chapter
focus on
3.
chapter 3. Okay, so we've got 5 tasks. I've said this several times and because I've got so many classes, I'm going to say it just to be sure that I've said it to y'all. Think about this as the Babok as a room of file cabinets, and you walk in and you say, "This file cabinet is chapter 3." And the first drawer is the first task. Let me show this to you instead of trying to make you imagine it. So here's chapter 3. This is your file cabinet. Here's your drawers.
Hmm.
And you open this drawer for the first task, and this drawer has a folder that has the purpose. It's got a folder that has the description. It's got a folder for the input. It's got a folder for each of these elements. And I want to be sure you understand that the elements are the things that you've got to get accomplished to accomplish this task. It's not you can do one or two. It's these are the pieces of it. It's like a puzzle. And then you've got your guidelines and tools. These are things that you use. Your techniques are things you can choose to use. You don't have to use them all. You don't have to use all your guidelines and tools, but it's a good idea. Your stakeholders. are the ones that the BABOK recommends being involved. And sometimes the stakeholder has a very specific job. They're not just involved, they have a actual responsibility in that task. And then your output is the goal of all of this coming together. So you got all of this in that one drawer in that file cabinet. That's why whenever we answer questions, I ask you, so which task is it we're doing? Because it pulls you into that one place. And when we are asking what is the one thing you need to begin plan business and I'm sorry, yes, plan business analysis approach, you need this one thing. You don't have to say, well, all the things in chapter three, that you need. No, you just need this one thing. And in the BABOK, whenever it talks about needs, this is business needs. This is the business need your project is trying to accomplish. We need to get a database to give us this information for this purpose. It's not just I need something. It's the business needs this thing to be accomplished. And so this is our need, and then this is our output for this task. Any questions on that idea?
Thea, just one question. I mean, when we speak of elements or when we speak of guidelines and tools,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite elaborate against each of these activities or tasks. So, how important is it that we need to know it by heart? Like, literally, do we really have to know concisely everything that goes into elements for, let's say, this task, or just a brief idea of, what things go into it is sufficient? I don't know if it is going to be scenario based that we should be aware of these intricate details captured, or just an idea of, okay, this goes in there, just having that knowledge is good enough.
I hesitate because some people they want to memorize every single thing. I don't believe that you need to memorize guidelines and tools. You need to understand why you need these things, and that's going to naturally bring them to your mind. Um, for the elements, these are important steps. For instance, for planned stakeholder engagement, you need to know that there's these three things you need to do. You don't, and you need to be able to kind of explain them to the point where that proves that you understand it.
Mm.
For instance, perform stakeholder analysis. There's literally these pieces of it: the role, the attitude, decision-making authority, level of power or influence. So for this one, I'm going to say you need to memorize it. For
Okay.
guidelines and tools, not so much. You need to know why you need these things, but you need them as you're working through this. For
Mm.
instance, whenever you're talking about your stakeholder communication needs, I think that's when you need your change strategy. How often am I going to be talking to them?
Okay.
Where are they located? How do I communicate with them? That's why you need part of your change strategy. So
Okay.
this one is not a memorize. I think this one is a memorize.
Okay. So
So
this
is
pretty
this
much
one.
is what is captured in the diagram, right? I see all of this, what is in the spreadsheet or in the BABOK is pretty much,
Mhm.
pictorially depicted as part of the diagram. Is it a one is to one? Is it sufficient that we have that mental image of the diagram with the components, or do you think it's an extension?
That only has the inputs and the guidelines and tools. It doesn't have your techniques. It doesn't have your stakeholders in it.
Oh yeah, we have inputs, we
Mm-hmm.
have guidelines and tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just these two, right? And output, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't give you all the things that you need to understand. It's a good start. It's a really nice start.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
can make your own diagram to so that you can, see all of it together in one
Okay.
diagram.
Mhm.
Incidentally, there's a diagram at the beginning of every chapter that has all the
Mhm.
inputs, and ignore that one. It doesn't tell you anything specific. It's like a big jumble, and so you don't know which ones go to which.
Right,
So
right.
just go to the ones at the beginning of each task.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool.
Okay. And those I have Bob, who no, you might not know Bob. Bob comes to one of my other study groups. He has said many times he literally just kind of got those diagrams in his head, and that's how he was able to pass. But I'm convinced he's brilliant. He's a mechanical engineer and created his own computer simulations because he taught himself Python. He might be an exception to the rule. I had to
Mm.
study. I had to fill up notebooks of how would I teach this if I were to teach it because I had to put myself into that model. Um, so that's the way I was able to pass.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked through that. Do y'all have any other questions before we get started?
No,
Okay. Did I talk to you about the errata? Jose, have
Mm.
you heard me talk about that?
no, I don't think so. No.
Okay, let me just tell you, I'm not going to go find it because I had trouble finding it the other day and I don't want to take up your time. The errata is imagine creating a document that's 522 pages and then sending it out to every analyst you know. Do you think they're going to find errors and potential improvements? Yes, yes, they will. And that's what we did with the Babok. We created this thing. We had, different teams around the world creating different chapters, and then we put it together and errors got published. And so the errata is the list of things that need to be changed in it. We're not really to the point where you have to worry about it yet, but it's a list of those things. And I will put it on our Slack channel and on our in our repository. But it's literally go to this section and change this word or add this word. It's just the purpose is just to be sure that the correct information is in your Babok. They're publishing it exactly the way they were 10 years ago, but they also have this list of things to improve. It takes an hour, maybe 2 hours to go through and do it. There are some in there as you go through there, it's a column of go to this section, look for this thing, change it to this thing. Look at the change it to this thing because some of them are formatting. It's like the spacing is the indentation. And it's like, I don't care about that. That does not hurt the way I'm studying. I want to know which words either need to be taken out or added in. So I'll put that in our Slack after this meeting and so that y'all can have access to it. Um, okay, let's get started with some practice test questions. And incidentally, thank you for joining me this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are. Okay, chapter 3. I am going to ask you which task we're talking about as we go through this, so be ready for that. Assessing stakeholder attitudes about the project is important. Which of the following best describe factors to consider? So, in which task is it that we assess stakeholder attitudes?
This
Uh, the
plan
second,
stakeholder management.
Jose, what do you think?
yeah, stakeholder management, the second one from this group.
So, chapter 3 has planned stakeholder engagement?
Engagement, engagement. Yeah.
Up to three.
Yes, yes.
Engagement.
I, I'm making you be specific because in the next chapter there's something else that sounds like that. So I want you to know the difference.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in that one, the factors to consider, attitudes toward the objective of the initiative, their job in the organization, attitude toward collaboration, teamwork, and other stakeholders and their job, attitude toward the business goals, objectives of the initiative, business analysis in general, project sponsor, and other stakeholders, or attitudes toward business analysis, project methodology, the sponsor, and project manager. Which one
Uh,
should we eliminate? Or if you already have the answer, we can go with that.
I'm leaning towards C.
Why do you like C? What does it have
Because
in it that you like?
in the stakeholders, I recollect coming across the project sponsor, and definitely business analysis in general. In general or business analysis, I don't know about that. Objective of the initiative is definitely required. It's very specific to the activity at hand. So they
Mhm.
need to be aligned. The business goals, objective, yeah, project sponsor, and other stakeholders. But business analysis in general, that is something which I want to go back and check.
Okay. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Attitude towards project sponsor and other stakeholders will be like the power that they hold within each other.
Okay, let's test it. This is not an all-inclusive list, which means there's things left out of it. but all stakeholder attitudes in this response are specifically stated along with their attitudes toward any proposed solution and team-based collaboration. Very good, guys.
Good start.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like you started right. Okay. Before any business analysis performance changes are implemented, so when we're talking business analysis performance, what task is that?
Performance improvement.
Performance
Identify
improvement?
business analysis performance improvements. Chetna, you haven't covered that one yet, so let me
Not
give
yet,
you a
not yet.
brief on it. That is literally what did
The
we
fifth.
plan? What did we do? What's the difference? What was the root cause of making that difference? We planned to meet them once a month. We went to meeting once a week. The reason for that was because they wanted more input, and so
Hmm.
we just document that as a performance improvement opportunity. And we take that document through every project after that. It's like, oh, in that project, I was thinking once a month. I've switched to once a week being more efficient. Is that what I need to do in this new project? Yes.
Uh, just one question. When we're talking about business analysis performance, at least the first two tasks, business analysis, planning and monitoring, and stakeholder engagement, there is also mention of this as an element,
hmm
as an input
It's
element,
because you take this into every future
as a
project.
prerequisite. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even if it's not mentioned, it's part of every single task that you
Uh,
do.
okay.
How could I do this better based upon expert judgment, based
Uh-huh.
upon this thing?
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we know which task we're in right now.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to read it again. Before any business analysis performance changes are implemented, who should be consulted to assess how they might impact the initiative? So we know which task we're in, and we need to go to the stakeholders, finite number of stakeholders. Each stakeholder has a role. So would it be the sponsor, the domain SME, the implementation SMEs, or the project manager? Which of these four talk about how the changes would might be impact the initiative?
I am referring to your spreadsheet, the one which has the information
Yeah.
concisely. So it says same as 3.1 with no regulator.
Uh-huh.
So there is no regulator, so that's fine. But then the rest of the options being domain SME, sponsor, PM. So implementation subject matter expert is ruled out. I
Okay.
ruled out. But from within these three again, a performance change are implemented. Ah, assess how they might impact the initiative. It's either A or hard one.
Jose, what do you think?
I mean, it's at an organization level, so I would not think it will be the domain subject matter expert.
Jose, what do you think?
Mm.
I would go with the sponsor. It's either
Sponsor,
the
even I.
sponsor or the domain subject matter expert. Those are most likely to be the ones more impacted with the changes
Okay,
or
let's test it.
to
Yeah, sponsor. Right.
with
Okay,
Uh,
covering
so
project
I
manager.
understand your logic and your reasoning was good. The sponsor may require reports on business analysis performance to address problems as they're identified, but the project manager is must be consulted before changes are implemented to assess the impact those changes are on the project. So the
Okay,
Babok
because of
in
timeline.
this section right here, so we're in chapter, task, and then section of that task. This describes the role, the responsibilities of that role in that particular task. Uh,
mm,
let's let's I'm going to give you an analogy. In the Babok and honestly in my real life, I've often said that the project manager is like Batman out there fighting the good fight, and the BA is like Robin or Alfred. Sometimes we're fighting the good fight with them. Sometimes we're behind the scenes just making them look really good, and you have to figure out which role that project manager needs you to play. And it may be a cheesy analogy, but it works for most people. But so as we're making changes in our performance, if we're right there helping the project manager take care of that project, if we make changes, they need to know, oh, we're switching this to every week instead of every month, or I'm going to start putting this on Slack or GitHub or, SharePoint. And how do they think it's going to impact everything? That's why the project manager is the one who should be consulted to assess how changes would impact the initiative.
But then, Thea, the approval would come from the sponsor to proceed. I mean, here it's just consulting, right? So the final approval for the initiative to be given the flag, the green flag, whether to proceed or not, would that
Yeah.
come from the sponsor or would that still be
For,
with the
for,
project manager?
for the initiative, for our change, for our performance, that needs to go to the project manager. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Does anyone else hear the echo?
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay.
Yes.
Gabrielle, I'm going to ask you to mute whenever you're not talking, but I want you to talk anytime you want to. Come off mute anytime, okay? All right. Let's go into the third one. Guidelines and tools included in the planned business analysis governance task include which of the following? Again, this is one that you haven't gotten to, Chetna. Planned business analysis governance, the purpose of it is to define how decisions are made about requirements and designs, including the reviews, change control, who's going to have approvals, and who's going to determine prioritization. So I wish I'd found this a lot earlier in my career that, oh, you can decide who's going to be the tiebreaker if there's a conflict. So that's what that is. So guidelines and tools in this particular task. Let's go through it instead of me reading it. They all have business analysis performance assessment, so we could eliminate that as a difference. Business policies are in three of them, but they're not in this one. Do we need business policies as we look at our governance? Jenna, I think you're on mute.
My bad. I don't see business policies.
Okay, so this one we can eliminate as a potential. You don't see business policies?
One moment, sorry. Let me just
It's
revisit
okay.
that. That was 3.3, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Three
there is
point.
business policy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we do need business policy, so we can eliminate this one. Let's see, change strategy or current state description. Which one is it?
Current state description.
Okay, so we can eliminate this one also. So we have current state description, both of these. This one has legal and regulatory information. Do we need that, Jose?
Yes, we need that one.
Okay, so that means that one would be our answer. These are the guidelines and tools used in the planned business analysis governance task. Each one of those are, in my opinion, more important in this task than most guidelines and tools because each of them has a specific input. Sorry, I'm using a bad word. Each of them have a specific thing that they contribute to that particular guideline and tool. Any questions on that one? Okay, we'll move forward. Gabrielle, we are focusing only on chapter 3 today. All right. Why is it important for a business analyst to understand roles and responsibilities of stakeholders within the organization? So, in what task is it that we are worried about understanding the roles and responsibilities?
Stakeholders within
Stakeholder engagement.
Plan stakeholder
stakeholder
engagement.
engagement. Yes.
Very good. So, the possible answers: to understand stakeholders' attitudes and manage them, to understand how stakeholders will contribute to the initiative, to categorize stakeholders in the power interest grid, or to help with the development of the racing matrix.
I go with A.
You like A as the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Gabrielle, go ahead.
Yes, me too. A.
Okay, you also agree with A. We will check A.
Oh no.
Okay, so understanding the roles and responsibility does not help the BA understand their attitudes, but understanding them will help contribute to how the stakeholders will contribute to the initiative. Here's an example. You can have a vice president come in as a sponsor or as a SME. You need to understand what they are bringing to your particular project. That's why you need to understand how they will contribute to the initiative. It doesn't really matter what their roles are outside of the project. It matters what their roles are inside of the project. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But then if we are
understanding
looking,
what are the daily pain points and how we are contributing for uh, for the project to satisfy their needs.
Mm-hmm. And what part they play in our
Yeah.
in our project.
it's it's a little tricky here for me, given that, we are talking of perform stakeholder analysis, right? I mean, when we are trying
We're
to look at
talking
the role,
plan. We're
yeah,
in
plan
plan stakeholder
stakeholder
engagement.
engagement, and that's wherein
Yes.
we determine who the stakeholders are, what their roles are, how they're going to be contributing, yes. But
Yes.
then overall, it's also to see if they're actually on board the idea of what we plan to deliver for the initiative, right? Their attitudes and whether we need somebody influential to have them, agree
Right.
and able to contribute. So, okay. In a way, it's a little
I,
tricky for me.
It is a little tricky. I agree. I see Amarachi's joined us. Welcome.
Thank
I
you.
think we've made sorry.
Go ahead, Jose.
I think Chetna made the same mistake as I did. I just read the question and I just thought about this stage that we are in,
Yeah.
stakeholder engagement, and immediately put into my mind what is the purpose of this task. So I went straight ahead to answer A. But
Yeah.
after putting
A little misleading.
the,
Yeah.
the correct response and reading the question again, understand roles and responsibilities. Why do we need to do what they do and why they do it? It
Mm.
makes
Mm-hmm.
absolutely more sense for the answer to be B.
Agree with you, Jose.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love the conversation. Y'all help each other learn. So please keep it up. Okay, let's move on to question 5. Samira has been engaged as a business analyst on a railway track design project for monorail in Toronto, Canada. She's currently planning the approaches she'll take. Oh, there's the word that tells us what task we're on. So tell me which task this is.
Uh, Plan approach.
It's going to be
And business
Plan
analysis,
BA approach. So that tells us the task. So she's currently
plan
planning for
business
the approaches
analysis.
she'll take to perform various business analysis activities. What is a key driving factor when considering the business analysis approach selection? So how do we as business analysts in this task define which approach we're going to take? Is the key driving factor going to be business need for the project? Stakeholders' preferred approach, organizational standards for business analysis, or project-specific standards for business analysis. Gabrielle, do you have one that you think we should eliminate?
not really. Es ist,
I can't hear you, darling.
I would think that the business need for the project will be the most important, but the other ones, I think they are also important.
Okay. So you're thinking that business need for the project is the answer?
I'm looking at organizational standards or stakeholders' preferred approach. Organizational standards.
Okay. So your vote is for B.
C. B or C.
Which one do you think it's the correct answer, Jose?
I would say A as well, the business needs. The way I'm reading this question is like, what is the input?
Amarachi, what do you think?
So I'm thinking organizational standards, although it kind of lap with project specific standard because the scenario itself is talking about a project and it just feels like it's a contract based kind of project. And so I think let me stick with C. Let me stick with C.
Okay, I've got 2 votes for C. Let's test it. Okay, looks like Jose's got us beat here. So the business need for the project it shapes our approach, which the need is the problem or opportunity faced by the organization. It's necessary to consider what's known about the need at the time of planning. One example you could think of is if you're building a processing plant for natural gas, you have to have everything laid out before you make a move because you can't say we're going to just set this here and we can move it later. It's 30 tons. So you have to have all your requirements laid out and approved by several regulatory agencies before you can even break ground on the project. So that's going to tell you you're going to have a very waterfall approach. If you have something that's going to be very fluid, it's going to be a more agile approach. You know, it's like we're going to start the website and we're just going to get the splash page made, and then we'll figure out what we need next. That's going to tell you you need a more agile approach. So the reason organizational standards for business analysis was not the correct answer. It may be defined by methodology or organizational standards, but it's necessary to consider what's known about the need, the problem or opportunity facing the organization at the time of planning. Do you know enough about it, regardless of organizational needs? So this is your very first thing you have to resolve.
So, Thea, in this question, we are looking at it as an agile-based project, and so we are going with the business need as an adaptive,
No,
not
no,
waterfall.
if you, well, adaptive or waterfall is going to tell you your approach. That's what we're talking about when we say approach. We're not looking at this as an agile project. We're looking at what is the need, and that will help us determine if it is an agile project or a waterfall project.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Any questions on this before we move on? Okay, let's go. At what point in the project timeline would the BA typically modify the business analysis plan? So the BABOK talks about there's a specific time that we would modify our plans. After initial risk assessment, but before the division of work strategy, after each stakeholder interview, after performance metrics have been collected and analyzed, or when requested to do so by the project manager. Is there one we can eliminate?
After each stakeholder interview. Ah,
You think we should eliminate this one? Jose, what do you think the correct answer is?
or
What
when
point
requested to do so by project manager.
business well response?
I'm having trouble understanding several of you. If you can get a little closer to your microphone, that would be helpful.
I think
Gabrielle?
the C is the correct one.
Yeah, I'm
Gabrielle,
also
I can't hear you.
C.
The C,
C?
yes.
Okay. After performance measures have been collected and analyzed. Okay. Anybody agree or disagree with C? This may be one of those that we have to get the answer to figure out exactly how we should have answered it. Let's test it. After performance measures have been collected and analyzed, at this point, variances are recognized. Plans may need to change to incorporate our preventative or corrective actions. This can happen anytime throughout the life cycle of a project. What this is literally saying is you had a plan, you have your business analysis plan. This is what I'm planning on doing. The moment you realize that you have to change that, you need to have meetings more frequently, you need to communicate differently, you need to do something different. At that point, you should modify your business analysis plan and identify what the root cause was and document it. That way, you've got your performance metrics updated for the way you're going to be doing business now. Does that make sense, Chetna?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Which of the following guidelines and tools provides results of previous evaluations that should be reviewed and incorporated into all planning approaches? So when we're talking about previous evaluations, we know we're still talking about business analysis evaluations, right? So which of the following guidelines and tools? So is it expert judgment, methodologies and frameworks, business analysis performance assessment, or business policies? Let's stop real quick. Which task are we in when we're talking about evaluations?
Performance improvements, performance improvements.
Yes. 3.5 is identify business analysis performance improvements. And does anybody have one that we can eliminate? Jenna, you mentioned earlier that this is an input into all these different tasks.
Yeah, business governance. I see it in all the 4 tasks.
Governance?
I would, the C is the
Business
first
analysis
one.
performance assessment. Yeah, I got your hint there now. It's been a, yeah,
All
that's
right. These assessments provide results of previous assessments that should be reviewed and incorporated into your current initiative approach. Not necessarily always incorporated, they should be considered. You know, it's like this worked really well last time. Is there any reason not to do it? You don't just blindly do what you did before. You evaluate that against your current process and project and team and the stage that they're in. You know that teams go through maturity stages. You know, what is it? Form, storm, norm, conform, perform. Teams go through a maturing process. And sometimes what you did with a very mature team is not what you're going to do with a very immature team. So you've got to evaluate your business analysis performance assessment, what you did before with what your team needs right now.
Okay.
Which of the following lists represents inputs required in the task charged with developing an approach for how business artifacts will be stored, accessed, and shared? So first of all, which task is it that does this?
Business analysis information management.
You are correct. That is exactly what it does. How will they be stored, accessed, and shared? So we know which task we're in. So let's go through these. Performance objectives external. Is this a need? It's different than all the rest of the answers.
External.
I would say no. I would say that
No.
that's probably a customer need or something like that.
But it's not
Then
one of the things that we need for this, right? It's not an
Mhm.
input into the task we're
no, I
talking
don't think it's an
about.
input either.
Okay, so we've eliminated that one. Let's see. They all have governance approach, stakeholder engagement. They all have that approach. This one has business analysis approach. This one has that and needs. Do we need needs?
No, I don't see needs.
Okay. So right now it could be this one. This one also has requirements validated. Do we need requirements validated as an input into this task?
Business analysis approach, stakeholder governance, no.
So this is not an input that the Babok calls for. So it looks
Just
like
those
this is
three.
probably our answer.
Yeah.
These are
Mm-hmm.
the three stated inputs. Let me show you this. So we're talking about this task right here. And in this task, this is the input column. So we know that these are the inputs that we're talking about. Wait, I'm sorry. We're in this one right here. So these are the three inputs that we're talking about. We're not going to add any more to the list. We're going to go with whatever the Babok says. So business analysis approach, stakeholder engagement approach, and governance approach are the three inputs into the planned business analysis information management task.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When identifying business analysis performance improvements, so when we're doing this, which task are we in?
Business analysis performance improvements.
That's
Identify
right.
business analysis performance improvements.
So when we're in this task, the business analysis process and deliverables are compared against a set of defined measures. Which statement is accurate about these measures? So we're talking about the set of defined measures. We compare what we're doing against. These measures are defined by organizational standards and therefore they are already in existence and should not be altered. Only stakeholders listed in the BA plan may have input into assessing the value of the business analysis work. The Center of Excellence, not the personnel manager, makes and determines these measures. Performance measures may be determined from the point of view of the stakeholders who are recipients of the business analysis work. Is there one we can eliminate? I want to
B.
eliminate A because there's not a time that the Babok says you must do this every single time. So whenever they say something should not be altered, the Babok doesn't have that spirit. This Babok is you do what's best for your team. So what do we think the correct answer is?
But Thea, the guidelines and tools, it's captured as organizational performance standards. So it's
Okay.
a guideline only. I mean, if
It
we
is a
have to
guideline. It's something
okay.
to consider to get information from.
Okay. Okay. Then A is ruled out. Center of Excellence, not the personal manager, makes and determines these measures. Center of Excellence. I'm thinking D.
Yeah,
Yes,
You
I
like that one,
agree.
Jose?
yeah. I'm thinking D as well.
Okay. Gabrielle, do you like D?
Yes,
Okay, let's test D.
B, D.
It
Okay.
is an organizational preference as to who has the authority to set the BA performance targets. So we start out, but we also open it up to whoever we need to contribute. Good reasoning, guys. In which artifact would the proposed approaches to address issues be found? So it's artifact. This is a document. The proposed approaches to address issues. So we're still talking about approaches, right? So we know that we're in the task. Planned business analysis approach. There's an artifact. Is it the business analysis issue log, business analysis performance assessment, the information management approach, or the item tracking?
I would exclude item tracking.
Why, Gabrielle?
This is incorrect, and the business analysis issue log. These two I would exclude.
You would exclude those two. Okay.
I'm actually thinking it could be business analysis issue log.
Are you thinking this could be the answer, Chetna?
Because it's the planned business analysis approach, so it is to do with the business analysis activity. There has to be some sort of an artifact maintained which says the inputs or the notes captured as part of business analysis.
Now, are you getting this from your logic or from the Babok?
From my logic.
That's absolutely acceptable, but it's important to know the difference.
Okay.
Jose, what do you think the correct answer is?
B.
E for business analysis performance assessment.
One of those two, yeah.
Okay. Let's test this one and see where we get. The BA performance assessment not only includes results, variances, and root causes, it also documents proposed approaches to effectively address performance issues.
Cool.
And so that means that whenever I was talking about proposed approaches, I was thinking about approaches wrong. I was thinking about the approach we're going to take for the project. I should have been down in task 5.
Performance improvements. Okay.
Yes, and performance improvement. And that's why this is the best answer.
But in
Jose
that
got
we
us
have a
there.
technique which is item tracking.
We do have item tracking.
Okay.
Item tracking is super powerful. I've started using a project management tool called a RAID log lately. RAID is risks, assumptions, issues, and decisions. And it is so nice to have everything in one place. I've used the issue log for years, but having those different elements to consider, okay, is this a decision? Because that you document it differently if it's a decision, right? Anyway, RAID is pretty cool. Which of the following statements is associated with the predictive approach? Predictive in the Babok is a synonym for which approach?
Waterfall.
It's the same as waterfall. Okay. Formal documentation is often produced after the solution is implemented to facilitate knowledge transfer. This approach tends to be preferred when requirements can be effectively defined prior to implementation. This approach tends to be preferred when taking an exploratory approach. Requirements are oftentimes limited to a prioritized list. What can we eliminate out of that list, guys?
I think C, exploratory approach is when you will go with agile, where you're going with a iterative cycle of, R&D to determine if the solution works. So I would say C
Mhm.
for elimination.
Okay, is there anything else we can eliminate?
Formal documentation is often produced after the solution is implemented to facilitate
Right.
knowledge transfer after.
In waterfall, you create formal documentation before, during, and after, right?
Correct,
So we
correct.
can eliminate that one as well.
Mhm.
Jose, do you have an input?
I would say
B.
B. This approach
B.
tends to be preferred when requirements can be effectively defined.
Yeah, I'm also going with B.
Okay. Yes,
This
I
is
got head
correct.
nods all around. This approach tends to be preferred in situations where requirements can be effectively defined ahead of implementation. The risk of an incorrect implementation is unacceptably high, or when engaging stakeholders present significant challenges. I may have mentioned this to you before. I worked at a nuclear power plant, and I had never worked at a nuclear power plant before. And so we were doing things very agile. And, it's like we'll just meet twice a week and we'll work on the next set of requirements. And, I thought everything was great until they had refueling. And in refueling at a nuclear power plant, at least here in the US, everybody switches jobs. You may have been a clerk and then suddenly you're on watch, or you may have been a technician and suddenly you have a totally different technical job. The people that I'd been working with as stakeholders were suddenly not available to me for like 2 weeks. Had I known that that was going to happen, I would have done more waterfall. It's like, okay, we will have a 4-hour requirement session instead of a 1-hour meeting. I would have done it very differently because I didn't realize that they weren't going to be available during those periods of time. You're a lead business analyst working on an initiative to construct a chemical plant. You have identified, analyzed, and evaluated over 20 risks regarding a proposed solution. The sponsor has reiterated that the risk of incorrect implementation is unacceptably high for this initiative. What approach would best serve the initiative? So we're talking about the approaches. That means that we are in the planned business analysis approach. And we're also talking about the approach for the project. So would it be a detailed planning approach, an adaptive approach, a predictive approach, or a plan-driven approach? What do y'all think the right answer is?
Predictive approach using Babok's language.
Okay.
Predictive, I would think as predictive is waterfall, right?
Mm-hmm. Plan-driven is also waterfall.
So I would say the adaptive
Adaptive,
approach
yeah, I would also go with adaptive.
because of the risks.
Okay. Adaptive is going to be agile. And whenever it's talking about risks being high and you can't do incorrect implementation, you're going to be more safe than agile. Agile is not it doesn't do things so planned out that it's safe. So let's check plan driven. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Predictive was right,
Predictive.
and he got it. I'm going to give it to you. Predictive approaches focus on minimizing upfront uncertainty. So if there's things that you don't know, you take predictive, which means waterfall, which means you get all your requirements up front and get them approved before you even begin any development. Amarachi, are you with us? Which deliverables is the main output of the planned stakeholder engagement task? So we're talking about the output of this particular task. Is it the stakeholder register, the stakeholder analysis, the communication approach to be utilized with identified stakeholders, or the stakeholder engagement approach?
Stakeholder engagement approach.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Gabrielle? Sometimes it's just that easy. Isn't that nice? Just sometimes.
I
Stakeholder
wish it could be an
approach,
open book assessment. Yeah, just the Excel spreadsheet of what you have
everybody.
shared with us.
Everybody
That's
wants
going
it
to
to
be
be open
immensely
book,
helpful.
and they want their whole class to come with them to the test every single time. So the planned stakeholder engagement task output is the stakeholder engagement approach.
Okay.
Ryan is a business analyst working on IT transformation project related to risk data consolidation. He has identified the business analysis activities required to complete each deliverable, the sequence of those activities, the tasks related to each activity. Halfway into the planning of these activities, Ryan faced multiple challenges with which the organization had experienced on a past project. How could Ryan have saved himself from facing similar challenges? So let's talk about what he did. He faced multiple challenges which the organization had already experienced on a planned project. So he could have known better, right? Had he done something. Ryan should have worked with the project manager to help identify the types of activities the business analyst should perform.
No.
Do we ever ask the project manager what we should do? No, we don't. Ryan should have conducted interviews with other business analysts to get their suggestions and validate his plan. We would call that expert judgment. Ryan should have reviewed the various organizational asset documents available to provide him with better planning information. Or Ryan should have reviewed lessons learned documents to understand the organization's previous experiences with planning. What do we think the correct answer is?
B or D, either interviews or lessons learned.
Okay.
Interviews mostly.
Jose, Gabrielle, what do y'all think?
Lessons learned.
Lessons
You like
learned.
lessons learned?
Yes.
Okay. Jose, what do you think?
Oops.
Interviews or lessons learned? Lessons learned.
Okay, let's try this. Reviewing the lessons learned documents from previous similar projects will help Ryan to understand the challenges that were faced in planning and the success strategies that work to avoid repeating the same mistakes in future projects. I don't often in the real world find people doing this, creating a lessons learned document, but it's a nice thing. And, to be honest, if I work on a project and 6 months later I'm working on a different project, I don't necessarily remember what we did 6 months before because I'm so focused on what I'm doing right now. Having that document as an input, even for myself, would be a good thing.
Why is it not C? It's because document analysis is from another task.
Let's see. It says this is one way to learn about policies, working models, best practices of the organization, but this information may not provide the understanding of similar mistakes from past projects.
Okay. Mistakes from past projects. Okay, that's the key word. Okay.
Yeah, this one is focused on past projects.
Okay.
Okay, defining an approach for how business analysis data will be stored and accessed represents the purpose of which task. So is it the governance, data management process, information management, or approach?
Information management.
Okay, I've got one vote for C. What do y'all think?
Governance.
Information management. Yeah.
Stored and assessed. Yeah.
Do you agree, Gabrielle? Yes, okay. The primary purpose of this task is to develop an approach for how business analysis information will be stored and accessed. Guidelines and tools included in the planned stakeholder engagement task include which of the following? So they all have business analysis performance assessment. This one has expert judgment. Do we need expert judgment?
Yes.
We do need that. None of the rest of them have expert judgment.
1 second.
Methodologies and frameworks.
What is this planned stakeholder engagement?
Planned stakeholder engagement task is 3.2, and the guidelines and tools.
Oh, there is no expert judgment.
There is no expert judgment, so we can eliminate that one. Okay, the next one, these two have change strategy and this one doesn't.
Yeah,
Do we need
that's
change
there.
strategy?
We need change
Okay.
strategy
So
and
we're going to
current
eliminate
state
that
description.
one and current state
C.
description. So this is the one that has
Yes.
all of the guidelines and tools for this task. These are the three stated guidelines and tools for the planned stakeholder engagement task.
Okay. B has the 3 guidelines and tools and the output. Okay.
Yes. It includes, and it doesn't have current state description in that one.
Yeah,
It has
yeah.
stakeholder engagement approach. Okay.
Yeah. All right. You're a business analyst of a construction project. The project management team is currently engaged in a meeting to decide whether the work related to building 2 swimming pools in a posh residential complex area will be managed in-house or outsourced to a preferred vendor. Based on this decision, you may need to change your plan of carrying out your business analysis activities in the project. In which of the following tasks are you currently engaged? So we're trying to decide how we're going to plan our business analysis activities, which is we're talking about in-house or outside of house. So is that analyze current state, plan business analysis governance, prepare for elicitation, or plan business analysis approach?
Plan business analysis approach.
Yes. Who will perform the?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to note we're asking for tasks, so it can't be analyze current state. That's not a task. At least we haven't gotten to it yet. Plan business analysis governance is a task, but that's not what this scenario is asking about, right? And prepare for elicitation is not a task. But this one is the right one. The planning process is iterative and plans are updated to address changing business conditions and newly raised issues. It would be a very different project if it was in-house versus somebody else doing it, wouldn't it? You would treat it very differently. Your communication is going to be different. Many planning methods fit somewhere along the continuum between blank and blank approaches. Which of the following best completes the statement above? Is it predictive value driven, plan driven change driven, predictive adaptive, or event driven date driven? Remember the language of the Babok.
Predictive adaptive.
The
I mean, that's something we have come across.
Okay. Jose?
yeah, C.
Okay. Gabrielle, do you agree? Yes? Okay. Amarachi, are you here? Nope. Okay. The Babok uses these terms to refer to waterfall and agile approaches. Which of the following lists contain valid requirements attributes? So requirements attributes, there's a list of them, okay? Priority, source, status, urgency.
Tia, where does this requirement attributes, which task does it come under?
The requirement attributes is, let me find it real quick. If one of y'all can help me, that would be great.
Maintain requirements.
It is going to be in plan business analysis information management.
Okay,
And
yeah,
it is the
5.2.
sixth element in 3.4. So it's going to be 3.4.4.6 is where you're going to find it. So priority, source, status, urgency, author, source, class, complexity, unambiguous, testable, complete, understandable, or performance interface quality glossary. Can we eliminate any of those folks?
Unambiguous, testable, complete, understandable. I mean, it says unambiguous. Okay, unambiguous, testable, complete.
Jose, is there one you would like to eliminate?
Performance interface quality glossary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think the correct answer is?
I mean, I'm at the section which you mentioned, Thea. I think it's B. I see author, I see source, class, and complexity here. All the 4 in the list mentioned.
I will do
Right.
it B.
Oh, really?
Class
Author.
is not a stated attribute.
Ah, class is not there.
So let me drop this in the chat real quick. This is a list of the requirement attributes. Absolute reference, because you need a number. You don't want to say, remember that requirement that it's this thing. You want to be able to say requirement 3.4. So you got your absolute reference, you got your author. Who is it that came up with this one? I'm sorry, who is it that wrote this one? Complexity, how is this easy or hard? And you can have ratings there. The ownership, who's responsible for getting it done? Priority, how urgently or how important is it to the project? Risk, what amount of risk have we identified? The source of it, who came up with this idea to start with? Stability, is this something that's going to change or not? And then urgency, which I said that in priority, but urgency is totally different. So you do need to remember those. There is this acronym called Kara's Soups. These things that they call them mnemonics. Mnemonics just give me one more thing to have to memorize, and they don't help me. But if they help you, go for it. I have in some of my other classes, I have people that they make mnemonics for every single thing. Every single, I mean, the task in a knowledge area, they make a mnemonic for it. And I'm like, that's just one more thing to memorize, and it doesn't have a meaning to me. I would rather memorize what these elements are that and how they relate to the task. For me, that makes more sense. In order to assess business analysis work and plan for improvements where required, it's important to consider the benefits obtained and assess whether the cost, time, and resource investments are justifiable. What assessment measure does this describe? So we're talking about an assessment measure, and we're talking about assessing our work and plan for improvements. So we know that we're in the task, identify business analysis performance improvements. When we consider the benefits attained and assess whether the cost, time, and resources are justifiable, that's our return on investment, isn't it? So is that strategic significance, effectiveness, or timeliness?
Effectiveness, significant, strategic, and timeliness.
So this is in 3.5.4.2. Okay. I'm going to go through each one of these because y'all do need to know the meanings of each one of these. So significance is correct. It considers whether the investment expended to produce the work products were justified for the value that they delivered. Let's talk about strategic. This measure evaluates whether the business objectives were met. Did we meet our business objectives? That's what that's talking about. Effectiveness evaluates whether the business analyst work products were easy to use and understand. Ideally, you want to be able to send them without any explanation and they can open them and just know what they mean. That's wonderful when that happens, but it's not always possible. Timeliness evaluates whether the work was delivered on time as per stakeholder expectations and schedule. So significance is the one that considers the benefits obtained and assesses whether the cost, time, and resource investments are justifiable. And I want to just say, sometimes you have to experiment to figure it out. You know, I can create something that took me 2 hours to create, and it gets to them and they're like, I don't understand this. And so I wasted my time is what it comes down to. But I was trying to give them something at a level of detail that was maybe beyond what they needed or in a way that their brain didn't understand. I needed to give it to them in a different format. What are the inputs to the planned business analysis governance task? So we know which task we're in, and we know we only want the inputs. Is it business analysis approach and stakeholder engagement approach? Business analysis approach and performance objectives external needs or needs and business analysis approach? What can we eliminate?
B, for sure. There is no performance associated with governance.
Okay.
And
Anything else we
needs
can
is
eliminate?
Needs, because needs, I think, is part of the first two tasks. Yeah. That is plan business
Okay.
analysis approach and plan stakeholder engagement. So A would be the right answer.
What do you think, Gabrielle?
I think the business analysis approach and stakeholder engagement approach will be the right one.
Okay. And Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I memorized that this one gets the both outputs from the previous tasks.
Yeah.
These are the two stated inputs from the plan business analysis governance task. Let's look at what Jose just said because that's an important thing. In the first knowledge area, you almost get a privilege here. The output of the first task is an input into the second task. The outputs of task 1 and 2 are inputs into task 3. The outputs of task 1, 2, and 3 are inputs into task 4. In task 5, it's changed, but this is a nice thing. It's kind of it, after we get deeper into it, it's not that easy. So this feels almost like cheating. It's like, oh, you got a privilege here. It's, the input, output, input, output. It's just so nice. The business analyst is defining how decisions about requirements and designs will be made. Which of the following techniques could be used to generate a list of potential approvers? So to generate a list of potential approvers, and we're defining how decisions will be made. So that means we're in governance, right? That's where you define how decisions are going to be made. So in governance, you're going to use a technique to generate a list of potential approvers. So is it decision modeling, document analysis, mind mapping, or brainstorming? What do we think the correct answer is?
Brainstorming.
Why do you like brainstorming, Chetna?
I mean, either that or document analysis. Mind mapping and decision modeling is definitely ruled out. I don't see it in the list of all the techniques for the
Okay,
governance task.
so we can
Either
eliminate
document
those two.
analysis or brainstorming.
So when we're talking about generating a list,
Brainstorming should be fine.
you like that one? Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, brainstorming as well. Document analysis will be more like to understand what was
Yeah.
done previously.
Okay. Gabrielle, what do you think?
Decision modeling.
You like decision analysis?
Document
Modeling.
analysis.
Decision modeling.
Decision modeling. Okay, so we've got 2 votes for D and 1 vote for A. Let's test D. Brainstorming is a technique that can be used to generate an initial list of potential stakeholder names for the approval role. One of the things that I really appreciate about that packet of techniques, I did the group 1, group 2, etc. Brainstorming, I think, is in group 1, and at the bottom of the description of brainstorming, it says anytime you're talking about generating something, or you're talking about doing it fast, or coming up with ideas, or suspending judgment, you're talking about brainstorming. Which of the following is an input into the plan business analysis approach task? So we know which task we're in, and we are looking for an input. Is it needs, designs, requirements, or solution scope?
Needs. This is the first
Any
task, right? Business analysis approach. Yeah. Needs.
needs. This is the sole stated input for this task, as the business analysis approach is shaped by the problem or opportunity faced by the organization. Okay, elements included in the planned business analysis approach task. So this is our task. Include which of the following? So we're talking about the elements. Let's see. This one starts with communication needs. Is communication needs in there? Might
No.
not be in the right order, but it's not in there, so we can eliminate this one. So these all have planning approach. The This one has perform stakeholder analysis. Is that one in there?
No, there
Okay,
is
so
no
we can
stakeholder
eliminate
involved.
those. Formality and level of detail of deliverables
Yes.
are in both. Business analysis activities are in both. Timing of business analysis work. Complexity and risk. And oh, this one says acceptance and this one says acceptance and attitudes. So is attitudes in there?
Attitudes will be in stakeholder, right? No, I think it's only till acceptance.
What do you think, Jose?
No, I think it's only acceptance. See.
Acceptance,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's try it. These are the stated elements in the planned business analysis approach task. Remember, elements are the checklists of things you have to do to get that task accomplished.
Hmm.
Planning stakeholder engagement in normal circumstances is a task carried out by the business analyst. So planning stakeholder engagement, we know which task we're in. This task may be shared with which other project team member. Who else do we do this with? Is it the project manager, the sponsor, the business me, or the peers? Let's eliminate one.
No
Or two.
peers.
No peers. We don't have a stakeholder called peers. How about business me?
Business me. Domains me. Business me. No, no business SME. It's very.
That could be another name for domains me, but I don't think that's the right one for this particular thing. Who else has the job in this task to help us plan stakeholder engagement?
Project manager. But the
Jose?
sponsor would
Gabrielle?
have more weightage.
Maybe the sponsor.
You like sponsor better, Gabrielle?
Yes.
Okay. Jose, I need a tiebreaker.
I would go for project manager.
Okay, 2 votes for project manager. Let's test it. The PM and the BA most likely share identification and management of stakeholders, and so is a likely collaborator for this project. Let's just check sponsor. The sponsor may request that specific stakeholders be involved, but they don't plan their engagement. You know, it's like, oh, get Bob over in accounting involved in this project, but he doesn't say, and this is how you need to talk to Bob. Unless he's a really awesome sponsor. I don't know. Maybe they would do that. Okay, let's submit this exam, view our results. So together we got 84% right. We know that that would pass if you got 84% on this knowledge area in the test. Again, my goal is to get you so confident and so knowledgeable about the BABOK that for every single knowledge area, you can sit down in front of the test and be ready to take it and get scores like this. I'm going to ask, I'm going to send each of you a few notes of let's do some things better. And I'm going to do that through Slack. So I would just send it to you privately. Do y'all have, if you have any notes for me of things I can do better, I want you to send it to me. I realize that we've had some audio problems and I want to see if we can get some of those eliminated so there it's more comfortable for everyone and everyone can hear better. Next week, I think we need to move on to chapter 4. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 4 is pretty, well, in my opinion, it's one of the easier ones. So chapter 3 has been all about preparing for the project. Chapter 4 is the first part of actually going in, talking, and doing the elicitation. And you're going to do elicitation throughout the entire project, but this is from the moment you start talking to preparing for elicitation and actually doing it. That's what chapter 4 is about. This is probably where most BAs spend majority of their work is eliciting, communicating, confirming, managing. This is where we live. So I think this is going to be pretty easy and we'll only need to spend maybe 2 weeks on this one. I want to draw attention to this is the first place that we have something like this, elicitation results confirmed. So this is the state of the elicitation results. This is a kind of a scientific notation in a form that just talks about this is the state of these. So we've talked about elicitation results, but once they're confirmed, they're one thing. Before they're confirmed, they're unconfirmed. So you're going to see that in some of the questions. It's going to say elicitation results unconfirmed. And so you're going to see that right here.
Mm.
You start out with this, you conduct a elicitation, you get your elicitation results unconfirmed, and then you go in and confirm. The BABOK is also rather interesting in this area. Whenever I do elicitation, I usually am documenting it as I go. I'm taking my notes, I'm checking to see if this is right. I'm making a process map with them, and we're checking to see if it's right. The BABOK has an idea that you're going to do something, maybe a workshop, and you're going to elicit things, and then you're going to go back to your desk and you're going to document. Maybe in a workshop you had a whole bunch of sticky notes and you need to consolidate those and turn them into a process map. The BABOK has this idea that you do elicitation, then you do documentation. It's got to be documented, and then you do confirmation. You confirm your results. You don't just do elicitation and go to confirmation, because you've got to have that documentation in between. So it put that in there. So you're going to see that in a few places. I want you to have that concept as you go into reading chapter 4. Do y'all have any questions or concerns?
Mm.
Okay. All right. I do understand there's a time change coming up. I think it's next month, which is
Hey,
very soon.
it's today.
So I did put in our Slack. Let me open that up real quick. I put this in here with Chetna's suggestion this morning. So after April 4th, as of April 4th, the time is going to change for you. I think most of you, it's going to be 2 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock. So that's here for you for your reference. Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for your participation. I appreciate you guys. And do remember, I'm having to track all of your time so that I can provide this is how much time you had in instructor-led training, because you have to have that 35 hours. And so I will have that for you whenever we get to the point of getting ready to actually put in your application for the test. I'll have that I'll send you an email or something so you have a document. But I do record that. I keep track of it, and I can't give people credit unless they're actually here. If they were just watching the recording, I can't give you credit. It's beneficial if you miss a class to watch the recording, but I can only give credit to the people who are here participating in instructor-led training. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'll give you a few minutes back. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry, just one question. In terms
Yes.
of the preparation, apart from the assessment, there is a profile that needs to go in, right? With all the hours that, I mean, not the CDU points, but just the prerequisites. So when do we
Okay.
have to look at building the profile itself to seek eligibility for writing the exam?
So we're talking about the application for the
The
exam.
application. Yes, yes,
Yes.
that's right.
So I have a spreadsheet that will make it much easier for you than it would be for you to do otherwise. You need to
Mm.
have your resume. You need to have your start and end dates for your resume. So if you need to pull, end dates from something else, you don't have to go down to the point of getting your timesheets and which project did I work on when. They aren't going to check that deeply, and honestly, they don't care. They don't have enough bandwidth to check that deeply. They want to know for this job, if you did similar projects throughout this job, how much time, 50% of the time, did you spend on elicitation? How much time did you spend on, so chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8? They want you to break it down by those chapters. The reason we haven't talked about the application yet is because you don't know what's in those chapters yet. So I
Okay.
want you to learn what's in those chapters. Keep track of any outside training that you get, any instructor-led training that you get between that you've had in the last, as far back as you can, and go ahead and track that. You need to know the name of the training. You need to know who provided it. If there was a company, what their URL is for their company, how to contact them if you can. Sometimes you can't. It's like I participated in a webinar and I don't know how to contact those people. I put in my own information. Here's my phone number. I can tell you about it. But, you just have to have that. They want to know the date it happened and how long you were in it and what it covered. So
Okay.
you can, just jot that down someplace and have
Would
that available.
Udemy self-assigned courses also fit into that requirement here?
They don't, because it has to be instructor led. Well, if your Udemy was instructor led, I don't know how they are. Sometimes Coursera and Udemy might have that, but it needs to have an instructor that is talking to you and that you can provide proof somehow by answering questions or something that you were able to learn the material.
Okay, that's a tricky one. Okay.
It is a little tricky, but you're going to get all the hours you need during this. I mean, you got to have your 35 hours.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Thanks, Thea.
Okay.
That was it.
So just
Yeah.
keep track of it. And I'm
Mm.
keeping track of your hours that you spend with me here. Uh, when we get to that point, I'll give you all that information. I'll lead you through the spreadsheet. It does the math for you. So you know that you're accounting for 100% of the time for each job. And then you
Mm.
can see that you have enough hours per knowledge area and be sure that you have all that right. The reason I do that is because once you start filling out your application on the IIBA website, you start a entry like a job or a course. If you leave and you don't come back for, I think it's 7 days or 10 days, it locks it down. You can't make any more edits. And so I want you to get everything ready to go, and then you just copy paste it and it's easy peasy.
Okay. Clear.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll be sending you notes on Slack. I really appreciate you participating in this effort. Y'all have a
Thanks.
wonderful rest of your Saturday.
Bye, everyone. Happy
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.